All right. On today's episode, we interviewed Bryan Dunn, and man, we kind of talked through a lot in this episode. So we ended up really diving into what it looks like to transition out of the Army into corporate America and really start to build up a side hustle, right? How do you have the time, the bandwidth, the focus to be able to do that while having a family? And ultimately, what are some of the stumbles that he encountered personally? So I think lots of really good information on this one. So Casey, what were some of your takeaways?
We go to these ETA conferences, entrepreneur through acquisition conferences. A lot of Army, a lot of military that have left to come back with their GI Bill to go and learn about entrepreneurship and buying companies. And Brian's just incredibly, you can tell, great quality human being, and took the adventure of buying a company. Right, a corporate guy, heard about ETA, said, "Hey, I'm going to buy a business." Didn't want to stretch, didn't want debt. So he bought a small e-commerce business. But his story is pretty amazing because it's like, hey, even though it's not all the cash flow riches of everything you're asking for, it's providing so many other things. And it's just the beauty of owning a business and being an
And
entrepreneur.
he did it while continuing to stay employed. And I think one of the big takeaways I appreciated was just him kind of realizing that, hey, it's made me be a lot more understanding of the company I'm at and all the risks and the pain and the
Big time.
turmoil that owner has taken. Right. And so definitely some insight there. And so it's definitely, it's always fun to hear people's story and see what's going on. And like Casey said, doesn't really paint all the roses, right? That buying a deal has. It has its challenges, ups and downs, and you learn from each one of them, right? If you
100%.
either learn or you grow and kind of move forward. And so listen in on this one. Hey everybody, it's Feras and would love to see you at our upcoming M&A Launchpad conference in Chicago, October 26th. At a conference, we talk about what it looks like to value a business, how to buy a business, how do you manage a team, right? And ultimately, we're big believers in the buy then build concept. So we're going to have one of our friends, Walker Dybel, the author of Buy Then Build, there as well as one of our keynotes and many more. So we'd love to see you there to kind of get exposure to the space and network. Hey, Bryan, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Yeah, great to have you, Bryan.
Always nice to have a fellow pilot on. So Bryan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So my name's Bryan Dunn. Thank you very much for having me today. So I'm a former Army aviator, West Point, class 1998. That puts me in a certain age bracket. But I don't know if you can see in the background, there's my aircraft, the CH-47. So once a hooker, always a hooker. And came out of the Army and started a small recruiting company. My last job in the Army actually was as a recruiter.
Nice.
Got out, did some recruiting for a while, then got into the home building industry because all the cool kids were doing it. And then, of course, that was in 2007, which was a good time to be building houses. Nothing happened in 2008 at all. But I moved from home building into defense contracting. I worked for the Boeing company on my aircraft, actually. I was a finance manager for a while and then moved into business development. And I had the great pleasure of representing all of the rotorcraft platforms, from the vertical lift of Boeing. And great company. Yes, it's in the headlines right now. And
you were there during the golden ages.
We'll call them.
It's changed a little bit.
I am going to keep my comments very general, but it's a shame anytime a major organization loses its way. And I truly hope for all the wonderful men and women that I used to work with and the products they create that they can find that way again, 100%. But from that position as a business development manager in the Boeing company, I eventually found an opportunity to move up in a leadership role into part of the supply chain. So there's a really interesting pathway for a career, right? And the size of your title and the size of the organization are sometimes inversely proportional. So I chose a path where I would go into the supply chain and start moving down in size of companies as I moved up in a leadership position. So I went to a company called L3 Harris, right? It was L3 when I joined it, and then they merged with a company called Harris. And I did I represented 5 different divisions of that company back to Boeing, of all their various aviation parts and processes, and did that for a couple of years and had a lot of great success. Very interesting way that came around. And then once again, a smaller company recruited me into their organization to lead their sales and marketing. And so, my primary effort right now is as a vice president of business development in a privately held 50-year-old manufacturing company that is well represented across the entire DoD in terms of what kind of products they do. And during that time, I've also become an entrepreneur through acquisition of a small e-commerce brand we can get into talk about, but it's the brand's name trademark is the Pursuit Gold Journal. It is a gold journal. You can find it on Amazon or on my own website. And it helps a person define what they want to pursue in life and then break down into logical steps how to achieve that goal in a very consistent sort of way. It's a great little product. 25,000 has since been sold the last couple of years. It's a nice little tangible piece of paper because I am very much analog in what I do, right? I love paper. I love tactile things. So yeah. And so that's kind of professional me. Personal me is I'm a father of three, married 23 years now. We have 3 kids. First one goes to college tomorrow. So that's a lot
Congratulations.
of fun.
All right,
Congrats.
All right. So there's a lot to unpack there. So, maybe quickly. So you obviously, went to West Point, then you kind of started the corporate America and you kind of moved down the ladder in size while you moved up the ladder in career. But then you went and, did ETA, right? You went and bought a business. I mean, what got you that exposure, right? Especially kind of given where you were in life, having a family, having kids. Most people go the opposite direction, right? Where they're consumed, they're just living their lifestyle. They don't think about, the grass being greener elsewhere. I mean, how'd you get that itch or that exposure?
I had no idea that process really existed. I mean, I knew people bought and sold businesses. I get that. I mean, I'd gone to Drexel, got an MBA in 2013, and it just wasn't really talked about. It was not a thing, really. I mean, it was, but like it wasn't broadly known, not like it is today. And so a couple of years later, after graduating that, I get an email from my sister-in-law and a young man. I'll shout out Bryan Cruz. He reached out to her family company and said, "Hey, I'm this guy. I'm searching for a business to buy. Can I talk to your ownership?" And she's like, "We're not for sale, but you might want to talk to my brother-in-law. You're both former Army, and let's have a conversation." So I talked to this individual, and he's like, "This is what I'm doing. I got out of the Army. He's a pilot. I was a pilot. I'm going to raise a fund, and I'm going to go buy something." I said, "That sounds impossible. Surely that's not real." And he says, "Yeah, well, like, here's a list of books. Go read them." So I went on the standard path, got the HBR book.
I read it.
Started me on the path of like, this is the most amazing thing. And as I was reading this HBR book, I realized some of the names were familiar and I had them in my LinkedIn connections. It's like, these are real people. Like this, oh my God. So my brain just started to explode. And from that point, I started realizing that I wanted to leave big corporate America and come down into that small company, small, medium-sized, the SMB land. And so I spent a couple of years looking both for a company to buy, partnered and solo, kind of part-time, self-funded, nights and weekends kind of work. And also perhaps find one that I could then go work in, get some operational reps, because it's a really different place being in SMB land than it is being, in 100,000 person corporation called Boeing.
Oh, I bet.
Those two things are not the same.
No, I mean, yeah,
way different.
I know exactly what you mean. I worked at Microsoft and it was 100,000 people and you're just a cog. But I think I'm trying to understand. So what led to her roping you in, right? It was her family's business, right?
Sure.
Why did you get roped into that conversation that gave you the exposure that there's this whole ETA world out there?
Yeah, I think a lot of it had to do with, first of all, Karen is wicked smart, right? And she's a great sister-in-law. She married my older brother, who was also wicked smart, older siblings. But the thing that she knew I was very interested in business, sort of part-time, maybe it's even just a hobby. I tend to spend a lot of time asking questions. I have a great sense of wonder about other people's work, what they do and how they do it. And I used to always talk to her about her dad's company. He's founded this thing from scratch. They were unemployed in the 70s and pregnant at the same time, like in my mom and dad. And they built this thing up from nothing into a very profitable, very enduringly boring, profitable business. And I didn't even know that you had a business like this. They're in property management, HUD housing, right? They do a lot of very tall HUD buildings, and they are the property managers across our geographic area.
And I'll say this because I have a property management company, and it's one of the hardest businesses I've ever seen, just for the record. So it's a lot of people, a lot of numbers, a lot of money, and all in between.
So I think she just knew that it'd be interested. And also, randomly, here's this former Army aviator, former pilot, says, "Hey, can I buy your business?" And she's like, "That's crazy. You should talk to my brother-in-law. I'm not selling, but
gotcha.
My brother-in-law is a former pilot. Maybe you know each other, one of those things."
So we'll be up at the Harvard Business School. We'll do an ETA conference here in October.
Yeah. So for those listeners, I mean, we'll be out there October 26th. Would love to connect. Reach out to us on the website, but we'll be out there.
And one
Great
of the
conference.
things that we meet a lot of are West Point graduates that have spent, their time and, did their service, and they're using their GI Bill to go back to Harvard.
Yes.
And I'm talking about a huge portion of these guys are military, and they're coming through the entrepreneurship program. It's pretty amazing.
Casey went to the first one, and I just remember him being there and messaging us. He's like, it's the West Point guys. These are the guys we need to talk to. They've had this system. They're the guys that are buttoned up. They're already kind of past the hoorah phase of their life, and they're looking to do something and be serious about it. And
laser focused, man. And anyway, so I was really impressed that the military guys seem to really grab to this ETA kind of concept. It's pretty neat.
And I think we met one of the funds. They invest purely in. I think they were exclusive to West Point. It wasn't even just military. They were only they invest in West. Basically, they're like, we invest in people that went to West Point that want to be operators. Period. Like that was their.
So that's fantastic.
Now to pop your bubble, though, just to pop your bubble, I also talked to that same guy, and he said they've been the firm he works for does the search investing. They've been around for like 30 years, right? They did a huge analysis of all the different people, success, not success, all the above. And they looked and they said, the people that have MBAs, the people that are the smartest, all these things had no correlation to success.
Sure.
They said it all came down to grit. It all came down to grit.
I thought it came down to being the older sibling.
The older sibling, and
personally, I'm the oldest sibling.
But literally, he told me this, and because he was a West Point guy, and he was like, you'd think that like there was some kind of DNA connection to success in the business world, and he was like, there's not. It really comes down to the people that will dig in. They've got the grit. And they're willing to put in the time. And like you said earlier, the reps too, right? It's putting in the reps.
Yeah. No,
so it's pretty amazing.
They say the same thing at West Point. Your position in the class, like your class rank and how well you do at the academy, has no bearing on how well you'll do in actual Army experience. It's like Patton, right? On the 5-year program. There's no 5-year program at West Point, but he was on it. And, one of our most amazing generals, and did not do well at all at West Point. Keep him behind glass, like in case of war, break glass, those guys.
Yes.
Very, very. Now, sometimes the first captains and those really remarkable folks, of course they do great, but very little correlation to true combat experience, leadership, and class rank. So I'm with you 100% on that one.
So being an entrepreneur that has a family, and I have had side hustles. I have, I've had to have short-term stints of careers in order to put cash away.
Your side hustles had side hustles.
My side hustles. It was the biggest joke in my family, because I don't know if you ever remember Damon Wayans had a show called In Living Color.
I got 15 jobs, man.
That's it. Everybody in my family called me a Jamaican because they're like, you lazy bum, man. You only have 3 jobs. One job. Yeah. And so that was the joke in my household. They're like, because Casey's always, and I'm like, hey, I've got to, I'm an entrepreneur. I've got to have all these things working. So how do you do it? You've got a career, and then now you've also got this side hustle, and I can imagine you're looking for your next opportunity too. So where do you find the time being a dad and do it? Because a lot of our listeners they're looking to make that jump, and they have jobs, they have careers, and they're like, man, if I could just make that jump.
All right. That is such an important question, and it's a great important topic. And I'll tell you my story. I don't know if this has bearing for everyone else's life, but if you don't mind, I'll get a little personal about it.
Sure.
It is hugely important, because let's face it. I think we all know a ton of folks who are successful in business, and they have a terrible history with their family, right?
Yeah.
Kids don't talk to them, estranged spouse. Look, I don't want to get in anybody else's marriage, trust me, at all. Like, there's no judgment when I say this, but like, you got to be careful what you do. And so I have been traveling extensively for about a decade, right? I'm a BD guy. Got to go to the customer. And one of the things that kind of overwhelmed my life during that period was I realized I was spending an inordinate amount of time in the bar, right? Hey, customer, let's go to the bar. Hey, customer, let's go to the bar. No customer, I'm going to go to the bar anyway, right? And so it gets to this point where it became really clear as a middle-aged guy with kids who are becoming high schoolers, so 4.5 years ago, I guess it's 4.5 years now. I decided, I'm done. I'm not drinking anymore. I'm just drawing a line to it. Done. I'm still traveling a ton, but I find myself sitting by myself in a hotel room. I've already done 12 hours, like at work, and I need something else to do, not drink. And so I started having this idea of like, all right, I need something to fill that void. I'm exercising in the morning, usually, sometimes at night, but usually in the morning. I just need something to do. So I began to realize that, hey, look, I'm in this great corporate gig, small business gig. I have a bunch of time I don't know what to do with, and I don't want to, idle hands are the devil's plaything. So let's go fill it with something. And the ET idea, like, well, let's do an online business, right? So I'll fill this void in my life on the road with an online business. And that really helped me understand that I could be both a small business exec, a father, because when I'm home, I don't do a ton online. I try not to work at night. I try to be very, very present when I am home, if I can. It's not always possible.
It's tough.
It's tough. But that's my intention, is to be very present. But when I'm on the road, and the kids know by now. Like they know I'm not going to. I will FaceTime them and they'll go to bed and all that stuff. But so I searched for an online business to acquire, and that's what I eventually did. Well, I can tell you the story. Eventually, I did acquire this online business from the founder of it. It's a brand, really, the Pursuit Gold General brand. But yeah, it is exceptionally hard to balance all these things. And mid-40s, I had accumulated enough capital to do something. I wanted to do something, right? Almost like I got this money burning a hole in my pocket. I'd gotten my ducks in a row. So if I found a deal I could move quickly without doing a lot of debt, I had some cash. And I thought, instead of just looking for the big picture, purchase my own company, I'm going to get small. I'm going to get experience doing something in a very recoverable sort of way, right? I was smart enough to know that, like, hey, if I personally do the SBA route and I'm going to sign the PGs and all that stuff, everybody knows, it's big dog territory. I'm like looking at the wife, looking at the kids, and I'm like, all right, I'm not 100% sure that they're ready for that yet. And I'm talking to her, and, like, it's a team sport, you and your spouse. If they're not signed up, and I am not blaming her at all, she's usually the best part of any decision I ever make. Is her opinion. We'll just put it that way, because I am, I might go out one day and buy a Chrome business because I love shiny objects, 100%. Like,
come on, bring it.
Like, she is very much like, slow down, brother, slow down. Like, think that one through.
But this is what you're going through. We talked to a lot of people. We just had our conference here in Houston. We had about 300 plus people attend, and this is a common conversation I have. It is the risk of. It's almost like the only way I could buy that business is if I finance it through SBA. But people don't realize that, there are sellers that will allow you to put money down and finance it. I mean, there are ways to get around the PG. So I don't want people to get stuck there, but there's also like, it sounds like, that is just, it's a common one. So thanks. Your story is important because the people who are listening, they have to say, well, then how do I get started? Well, guess what? Sure. You don't have to go out and take down the $5 million company, right? You can start with something.
Yeah, and I think your example too is it matches a lot of people, right? Take advantage of the time you do have, and I think a lot of people don't realize how much time they waste in life. It's crazy to me. Whether it's watching TV shows, and that's fine. Everybody has their vices, yeah. But one of my friends, and it's kind of a similar story to you. He's not biz dev, but he is always traveling because guess what? He's a pilot, for a wealthy individual, and so he has a lot of downtime. The problem is he's on that person's schedule. But his downtime is like he's, he'll send me pictures. He's in hanging out in the lawn, for 3 days waiting for that person to finish whatever they're doing. And so he has spent that time to build up a commercial real estate portfolio. And it's almost comical because, he was getting paid well as a pilot, but he's actually making more now on the commercial real estate side. And so, again, there's ways for people to grow and accomplish things, but you're going to have to prioritize what you're looking for. And it's too many people try to do the all in. And I hate that strategy. People like go all in, cut, burn the ships, commit to everything. And a lot of times that pressure itself becomes too much for people, let alone having to build a business and start it. And so,
There's a lot of ways to get
yeah.
to where you want to go. And I think we're all looking for life, enjoyment, fulfillment, all the above, right?
Yeah, and then partners. I mean, like I said, partners is another example. Like that's what partners do. They help load balance. They help reduce risk. I mean, whether it's someone that wants to come to us and be an operating partner, and we help raise the equity, or a direct partner that's sharing the actual duties. I mean, so again, there's a lot of ways to do it, and kudos to you for kind of at least getting yourself and kind of moving. And it's sometimes as simple as saying, I'm just going to stop drinking and figure out what I waste my time on. I'm either going to build a six pack or I'm going to go buy a business.
Please don't ask me to show you the screen time part of this, because you'll find a lot of time spent various platforms. But yeah, 100%. You gotta make your choices every day and do something right.
Absolutely.
But, there's so much to unpack what we're just talking about. So
yeah, I know for sure. So, but then because just to kind of keep the time, it's so you decided, hey, maybe an e-commerce business, right? Yeah. How'd you find this business? How'd you finance this business? And have you been happy with that acquisition?
And the multiple. We've got to know what you're buying the e-commerce business at.
I mean, it's a healthy 23.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Just
absolutely. All right. So to go back a couple bits. So I told you how I learned about ETA, but really it didn't really start clicking.
And really quick for two people, for the audience, ETA means entrepreneur through acquisition. And the other acronym we did say too was HBR, Harvard Business Review. So just because to help.
No,
sure. Thank you.
Those are good.
Yeah. So I was in an executive coaching program called the Lion's Pride, right? And it was full of academy graduates, business owners, or business execs, right? So the business had to be run or managed by a veteran like that. And one of the events they had was with Walker Dybel, right?
He's a good friend.
So I had it. Yeah, he's on the he's very much a friend to your podcast. So I had an opportunity to interact with him as a part of a group, remotely, just like this. And then I went and read his book, and again, just so it goes off. As I was going through this process and realizing I wanted to do e-commerce and what I wanted to buy, using the idea of finding something that I want and making a real decision, his brokerage Quiet Light, that's how I came to know about that. And so I bought my business through Quiet Light. Great online business brokerage. Phenomenal. Like, good businesses on it. I got a great process. I was able to not finance it. I didn't have to finance this business. I paid cash for it. And I bought it at a 3x multiple of its net profit on the trailing 12 months.
So 3x on profit. That's a good
way to buy.
That's healthy.
It's a healthy good bit on a good e-commerce. Was this pre 2020 or post 2020?
This was mid 2021 is when
that's a really good trade right there, especially when everybody was overpaying for e-commerce during the boom.
Fit. I thought it fit at the time. It still fit at the time. And now it still fits. Like, it's still a decent story, and it's a good process. I moved so fast. Like I told you, I'd kind of gotten myself ready to go. I had consolidated all the various sources of funds. I'm pulling some money out, using this line of credit or that sort of thing. Like I have a pile of dry powder that I can just wire. And the seller of the business discounted it if I could move very fast. And by fast, I mean 9 days.
Wow.
He closed in 9 days. He was undergoing major surgery and was like, I have to have this thing out and use this dollar figure because I'm going to need it in the various medical expenses I'm about to have, blah, 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 blah. So talk to the broker, talk to the owner. All right, we can do this. I can move that fast. Can you move that fast? I have a personal network. I had a great M&A attorney who did a lot of the work, writing all the paperwork, all that sort of stuff. And their brokerage handled it phenomenally. So we moved from finding the business to closing on the business was 9 days.
Wow, what a story.
Just happened. So this is the funny part about this is, it's funny. It's actually, give me a second. So it's a 6-month, undated journal, right? And I was using it at the time as a customer. So I like to laugh. Like, not only am I the president of the Hair Club for Men, but I'm a client kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I was using this book because I needed to kind of consolidate my actions towards getting ready to do a deal. And I was using this, and it came through my email that, oh my God, the producer of this book is for sale. So I was like,
Awesome story.
the universe is aligned. Let's do it.
So then how, maybe really quick, how many people are in this? Is it purely online, or do you have some people that do stock? And then how has it gone? Right. So that was what, 2.5 years ago? Probably?
Yeah, so it is 100% online. I do have a Shopify site that I built. Spent some money, build up a brand, because like Amazon, you don't really own your customer. And the whole idea is you got to move your customer journey over here and own it, own the emails, develop the list, so you can really monetize it. It 100% is Amazon, and it really still is. I sell very few through my channel, and it's still primarily Amazon. Was then, is now, but it is brand registered now. It's trademarked now. I mean, it was a really good news story. Young man build it slowly during a healthy time to introduce a new product into the gold journal space. It's very crowded, but it's completely evergreen, because every 6 months you buy a new book. Sometimes people buy them in sets of twos, get you the whole year. But spike in January, spike in July. That was the profile of the seasonality of the revenue. But yeah, so it has gone some ways better than I could expect, and some ways terribly. If and what I mean by that is
Sounds like entrepreneurship.
I'll tell you,
The highs are high, the lows are low.
so low. So the lows are so low. So started off brilliantly. It really did. And then something happened in Amazon that I cannot explain, and they will not explain. But I made a small tweak after 30 days. Like I just wanted to change a little bit here, and I took some writing and I changed it through a Helium 10 is a software package, a lot more user friendly. A couple years ago, hit the button, went to bed. I'm in my hotel room. It's like midnight. Click update. Wake up the next morning and I check to see what it looks like, and the entire thing had disaggregated.
Oh
so
God.
3 different colors, 1,000 reviews, 4.8 stars, all that stuff. All the reviews were gone, all the bullets were gone, like the pictures were gone. I'm like, what happened? It's my high season. Like, and so 26 help tickets, like hours spent talking to very polite gentlemen and ladies in the Philippines who cannot help you whatsoever. And 6 weeks goes by, and eventually, poof, like magic, it's all back together again. And I missed the high season. And probably 70% of what I was expecting from a sales standpoint just went poof, gone. Nothing I can do about that whatsoever. And so I spent the next 18 months trying to figure out how to increase my pay-per-click advertising, right? Because part of my thesis was these guys don't even advertise, and they're selling, 6 figures worth of books. Hooray! I'll advertise. This gets me to the worst part of this experience, right? So I have heard this said, I didn't invent it, but it's absolutely true. I bought an e-commerce business, not because it's easy, but because I thought it'd be easy. 100%.
You now understand PPC, Facebook marketing. You've had to learn it all, huh?
It's brutal, and I am personally terrible at it. You'd think, no, not good. Like I've done various campaigns, I've taken the classes, I've done all this stuff. So what I realized about this business is I love the product, and I love talking about the product, and I hate everything there is to hate about being an Amazon seller besides that. And I don't have any relationship with the customers. So like I've kind of shifted now, and a lot of these books go out. They're either donated or sold through veterans charities. I donate to a lot of women's shelters. I have a whole entire line of these things that are purple, for domestic violence or violence against women. And it helps these people get like something tangible to help get back on their feet. And is it a big deal? No, it's not. And here's a free book. It's just, can it help
Something.
you? I hope it does. Something. Homeless shelters, folks are coming out of prison, like those types of things. And I give a lot of either very reduced price, wholesale, at cost, or just free. Just take the books. It's fine. Like, we're going to figure this out later. But I also use it in a class that's developed at Drexel, which the first one will be in the fall, where they'll use this book as part of their curriculum for the incoming class of veterans, student veterans. Give them something to use as they figure out how to pursue what they need to do as an academic goal versus just being in the military. So they're making that transition. So I spend a lot of my time on my free time now transitioning from I'm an e-commerce guy to now I'm really concerned about the book. I'm concerned about making your goals. I'm concerned about how do I help others achieve that? And that's what I draw energy from. And that's what I enjoy. And I totally hate checking my PPC, doing that stuff. So I have some folks who've helped me with it on and off, but I'm not sure yet really if I'm ever going to get back to the level I was at when I bought the company. I bought the brand. The entrance to the market since 21 expanded, and I think I can count either 9 or 11 of my top competitors' pictures and ads inside my Amazon listing at a PPC that I cannot afford, a pay-per-click. So they advertise more inside my actual branded home store.
I didn't know they could do that.
No, you can. That's the new game. And the problem is if you're selling through Amazon, it's hard because I mean your margins are so skinny on those. So
yeah, so it's killing me. So best of times, love the product, love how it works, love all
Amazon's
about it.
fastest growing division is advertising, if you don't know that right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's been the new push the past 2-3 years. And I mean, it's across the industry, not just
Killing their
Amazon.
sellers, man. That's just crazy.
That's this. They make their money off of me, not you guys. When you buy something as a customer, they make a little bit of money. It's the small seller that they're killing. Yeah. And so, will I continue to compete? I am. It's currently listed for sale today. I have a plan. I'm continuing the thesis and doing the things that I was going to do anyway. And it's puttering along. Costs are low. It doesn't kill me to keep it. Eventually, I'll figure it out. And it helps me do what I enjoy, which is talking to people about their goals and talking to people about how to develop either in their career or buy a business or do something like that. And it's a tool, and it's just part of kind of my own personal brand. But it is not the massive success of like, it's throwing money at me that I can now turn around and do something else with. It's been a great expression of the I either win or I learn. And boy, am I learning a lot of stuff.
And that's just your first rep in that side. So now you got to get another rep. So
yeah, absolutely. So
you'll find it, right? You'll find that next opportunity, but you've now taken that leap.
It taught me.
I got a snake oil e-commerce store for you if you'd like to.
Yeah, I will not buy another e-commerce business. I may grow something organically, and that's probably one of the biggest things. Like, if you're searching for a side hustle, here's my advice to you. You're a mid-career exec, or maybe you're 32, maybe you're coming out of big business, you're a banker. Do something small, start something small. That's like, that experiment was so crucial. My problem is I think I bit off more of an experiment. In hindsight, I go, I could have developed my own book over the course of 6 months and then launched it for probably 10 grand. And I spent a lot more than that buying one with 5 years worth of reviews and 1,000 positive reviews. So I jumped years in the future, which is great. Except that when something went bad, I had no skills to fix it. So I'm trying to fix this large problem without the 5 years of earning the ability to go, yeah, this happened before. I can handle this from an ops standpoint. And I think that lesson is kind of whitewashed a lot in some of the ETA space. Like, you really are going to have some scars, hard scars. And so if you don't have any kind of true operational experience in the business you're going to, and you want to be by yourself, dude, go for it. If you want to have a partner that's got some of those chops, if you want to say, I'm a searcher and I've got this board who's funding me and they have deep expertise in the domain I'm in, I recommend that 100%. Absolutely. Don't solo this nonsense. It's hard. Don't do that.
No, solo is definitely hard. It is definitely hard. It is one of those things. But all this business stuff, there's anybody that's listening, mark my words, none of this is easy.
Now, people see the success and ignore the easy, like it's everybody just so naive to it. And I think as I've done more and more different businesses and just, grown and face the ups and downs, I start to have a newfound appreciation for any business person, right? Whether it's Elon or Jeff Bezos or the guy running the bakery down the road. I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into these. And again, people see the finish line, but they ignore all the work and effort that it took to build it up. So
our COO and I today, we had a joke because he was like, he was talking about a podcast he'd heard of Cody Sanchez's, and she had said, you haven't really lived until you haven't been able to make payroll, or like you're sweating to make payroll. And it's like, so true, right? That's a great quote. It's like, how? Like, yes, that's just one of those parts of being in business.
I think probably one of the best things about this interesting journey I've had in my own ETA experience, buying this brand, figuring it out, is all the decisions about marketing, all the decisions I've made, that emotional roller coaster I've run, has given me so much more empathy for the ownership of the company I work at.
Yeah.
Right. And I will tell you without a shadow of doubt, has made me a better executive in my day job. So being a business owner and having all of those problems keep me up at night worrying about it has made me make better decisions during my execution of my day jobs. For instance, like so much better at relating to our board, to the president, so much better at just explaining how and why decisions are made to the senior managers or to the line folks, without being like, I don't know, boss says this, like, no, like I get that empathy. And it was important for me to kind of understand that. And I would say that it's helped me really understand that as a executive in a small business, even if it's not my business, like I'm not the primary shareholder of this business, I'm incentivized by the top line of the business, or the top and the bottom line of the business, right? Great. Wonderful. Great W-2 role. It's great. W-2s are great. Keep one if you have one. If you can, right? If you can stand it. But knowing that I have this other part of my emotion, other part of my brain dealing with all of these stresses, I can see what my boss goes through, because I work directly for the president, and help him do that. And over the period of time, like, he is eventually going to sell this business. He's not going to live forever. Whether he sells that to a large prime, whether he sells that to a private equity fund, whether he sells that to the management, pick it. I am going to be far better set up to go through that with him when the time comes, or help even the stuff we're doing now. Like, I've met so many really amazing PE folks, permanent equity, as well as the kind of the standard private equity, folks raising funds, folks doing great stuff in reviving U.S. manufacturing, right, through growth capital and through experience, and just bringing a lot of energy to some kind of small mom and pop shops. Like, wonderful people that has expanded my network. And it's been a really great opportunity to take that part of what I've been doing the last 5 years and apply it to my day job. And it just makes kind of both are helpful. So if nothing else, I certainly have figured out how to live the life of an entrepreneur at the risk tolerance level that my family currently needs.
Love it.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
No, it's fantastic. And I'm glad to have, we interview all different types of people. And I would say majority of the people that are listening are in your shoes.
Yep.
Right. And that is a great way to recap. So let's jump into our rocket round. This is exciting stuff.
All right. So rocket round, where we ask everybody the same 3 questions. So Casey.
And everyone gives us the same 3 answers.
I know.
No. All right. So quick question. So what do you like best? What do you like to do in your free time?
So in my free time, I love spending time talking to veterans. I spend a ton of it, like part of the board of a thing called the Greater Philadelphia Veterans Network. Alex Archowski founded it about 10 years ago. I've known him for a decade. Taking a lot of free calls with transitioning veterans, just helping them figure out what they want to do when they transition, what they want to do when they get out, how are they going to move through the corporate world versus the military. So I know it's not a very cool hobby, but if I had to pick one, I love that. And I do it all the time. I do it for free. And if, there's vets listening to this podcast and you got questions, I'm an open book. You will get all of the candor you could possibly ask for, the goods, the bads, the pains. And I really do. I would do that full time if I could figure out a way to pay my mortgage with it. Yeah.
Well, thanks for doing that. My son, we just took him to A&M. He's joining the Corps. A couple weeks, in year 2, he plans on joining the Air Force, wants to be a pilot. But we've had that military in our family. So thank you for being that kind of guy. Just
remind him there's more pilots in the Army than there are in the Air Force.
We've told him. I know. We've told them.
All right. Next question. Most memorable moment in your business journey?
I'll tell you, it is seared into my brain, that feeling of when I woke up that next morning after my very first time hitting the save changes button and the entire thing went poof. And I was like,
I think I screwed something up. I just don't know what yet.
What? Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, what just happened to this? And that is a feeling that I hold on to, is like, hey, man, make a change, be bold, do whatever, but be prepared for yeah. That's
6 weeks, missed your entire sales period. It's actually a good story. You'll laugh at it one day.
Yeah, sure.
All right, last question. What is your favorite tool or resource?
All right. I know this is going to sound funny, but there is a wonderful community on the SMB Twitter.
Yep.
X, right? Phenomenal men and women. I have made actual, like, real life friends, meeting them through Twitter. And it's mostly a garbage pile, or, giant garbage fire. And then there's small business Twitter. And there are little niches. So I have found it to be exceptionally helpful to follow the right kind of people, build a community. There's a ton of great stuff out there, and the magic's in the DMs, but it's been a really wonderful tool. I have made friends that I've met in real life, and friends that I've helped put LOIs together for, and buy businesses and move forward in their journey, that I have just met by just interacting like two good people on Twitter. And so that'd be my favorite tool.
I would also say your journal. So why don't you plug it one more time, where someone can go to your Shopify and grab that tool?
Sure. So pursuitgoldjournal.com is my store. You can find it on Amazon. It's Prime, right? So it is a 6-month undated gold journal. It's got a nice flow to focus you on one singular pursuit and move you through kind of a focus funnel, really intended to just get all of the head trash out somewhere else. This is laser focused on just 3 main tasks you got to do every day to accomplish your goal. And if you just do those reps.
I'm getting one. I love that stuff.
Put that link in the show notes. So there you have it. Bryan, thank you very much.
Great story, awesome Bryan.
How can people get a hold of you?
So you can get a hold of me at Bryan at Pursuit Gold Journal. Bryan Dunn 06 at Gmail is my personal. I think my Twitter handle is Goals Be Done. So we're also on Instagram at Pursuit Gold Journal.
Perfect. All right. Thank you very much, Bryan.
Very nice to meet you. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for listening to the M&A Launchpad Podcast. If you've enjoyed today's podcast and would like to support us, please leave us a rating and a review after you listen. I'm Casey Minshew, and I look forward to talking with you next week.